Hello everyone and welcome to Epic Strokes. I'm your host David Diekamp, and the video you are about to see is a presentation of a colored pencil illustration. In this video I will discuss the techniques I used to create this illustration, going from my basic drawing to adding darks, midtones, highlights, and finally adding color. So sit back, relax, and I hope you enjoy this presentation. This technique is one that I first stumbled upon almost 20 years ago when I was looking through a design periodical called Step by Step Graphics. An illustrator named Bill Nelson was featured in one particular issue, and he had broken down his technique complete with reference photos. I've been searching for a way to achieve realism with colored pencil, and I tell you, this guy gave me the inspiration I needed. After I finished my line drawing, the first thing I do when I create an illustration is start with the darkest values. These are typically the eyebrows, the eyes, the insides of the nose, the lips, so on and so forth. I create these dark values by taking a black colored pencil and making hundreds of small, short strokes in one direction. Then I'll change my direction and make several small strokes again. I keep alternating the direction of my strokes so it looks like one smooth, continuous tone. Once the darkest values are laid in, I move on to the midtones. Since this piece was black and white with spot color added at the end, midtone values would be added by using a 50% gray colored pencil. What's important in capturing the lightness of an individual is paying attention to detail, and how the darkest values are handled at this stage sets the tone for the rest of the piece, and establishes a good foundation for adding your midtones, highlights, and eventually colors into your illustration. Working with hair. I tell you, this can be a challenge. Creating realistic looking hair is something that takes a little bit of practice, especially if there's highlights to be added in back over top of the shadows. Luckily, this piece, Bob's hair is mostly one tone. Pretty dark, a few highlights, but nothing too overly complicated. ever there was a part of your illustration that deserves the most attention, it's clothing. Folds in the shirt, creases of the collar, buttons, stitching. These are all things that illustrators must contend with when drawing realistic looking clothing. The blending technique I've described in a couple places here is crucial at this point. Hiding your pencil strokes, making the tone look smooth and even, and gradual blending transitions. Whenever I blend one color or value into another, I always add the new color on top and work my way out, making my strokes lighter and lighter until they're no longer visible before blending the next color. The key to blending one color or value into another, it's really all about being persistent with your pencil. Short strokes in more than one direction will create a smooth, even look. It's not important to put a lot of pressure on the surface with your pencil at this point. It is key to consistent layer of color. Doesn't matter how hard you press, it's just a consistent layer of color, and do it the same all over the place where you're adding the same color or value. I'm using the same technique as I did with the dark values. Putting my strokes in one direction, changing the angle of my strokes, laying them in again, and repeating the process until it's one smooth, continuous tone. The most important part in the look that I've achieved is by hiding your pencil strokes. When I'm finished with the dark values, or in this particular piece, when I'm finished with the black and white of the piece and I'm ready to add color, I follow the same basic formula that I use even if it is just a black and white piece. Dark values first, then I work towards the lighter values, and then again, always hiding my strokes. I'm finished with a large area of dark color specifically, I usually like to spray a coat of what's called workable fixative onto that area of the piece. This, it's not exactly a lacquer, but it is sort of a protector, a light sealer. It does protect that area from smudges, but it also allows me to work on top of it again. I also do this on full color pieces in between the dark values or the black, just before I'm ready to begin adding color. So it kind of separates layer upon layer, and that's the beauty of this product. You can still work on top of it even though you've sprayed it and sealed what's underneath. And it will erase, I have found, with a hard eraser, so it's careful if you do want to lift something off of a layer you spread underneath, you will eventually remove that spray fixative layer and what's underneath it if you press too hard. Now, I'm sure you'll see here through this video that I go over an area again and again and again, and that's done intentionally sometimes it's just my nitpicking, but it's nothing for me to go back over an area again and again until it looks smooth. I will say patience is a virtue with working with colored pencil, as it is in many other media too that involves a lot of detail work. I remember a young student of my wife's who asked her one time, well, what happens when he messes up? He's working in colored pencil. What happens if he messes up? Well, for the longest time, I used to say, well, I don't make mistakes. Well, of course, that's not always true. I make mistakes just like any other illustrator or artist. And one method I found that's very effective in lifting up colored pencil, not really erasing entirely, but lifting it up off the surface, is a very hard eraser. You can get them in Michael's or Hobby Lobby. And I've used to see them with typewriters, where you would erase, the letters or characters on the page with a very hard eraser. Well, I use one of these to lift off the colored pencil, and it doesn't always remove it. Like I said, it lifts the color off the page, but it also does a very good job at helping the blending process when I've added a bit too much in an area. So it does good in fixing mistakes. It also does a very good job in assisting in the blending process. When I'm finally ready to call it finished, I spray the entire piece with a gloss enamel to seal and protect it. This not only protects the piece, but it also has a neat effect of giving off a smooth satin finish, making it look almost like a print. And this is the final step, since colored pencil can no longer be added to this gloss surface. And really there's nothing left to do, so I spray it, I seal it, I call it finished, and then the piece is ready for delivery. Well, thank you everyone for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I look forward to bringing you another one very soon. This has been David Diekamp, and you have been watching Epic Strokes. Bye-bye.